Hello and welcome. In this video I will tell you that I have been told that the wall around the wood burner looks boring and the oak shelf is just plain. So anyway, I have been tasked to make the wall slightly more appealing, and I have decided to add little strips of wood, mixed wood, to make it slightly more interesting. So now you can see oak shelf that apparently on its own with the white background was just too plain, too boring. Anyway, to achieve this I had to rumble through my stack of old scraps and some random bits of wood, and have utilized a little bit of iroko, walnut, mahogany, beech and few others. All of it effectively a hardwood, and it took me quite a bit of time just to cut all of it to smaller strips. I wanted to have a consistent width of 30 millimeters across all of the strips, and then thickness in the region of 20 mil. However, I noticed that most of my offcuts were not truly square and equal shape across the full length. However, the biggest headache was actually the wall itself. Around the wood burner it has been plastered quite a few times, and as a result of it the whole wall was really uneven, and that was the biggest headache. So it took me a lot of time just to trim each piece, and then I was going back and forth to my belt sander just to trim it a little bit, just to shave off a few millimeters here and there. However, overall the aim was to have uneven pattern, and the fact that some of the timber slats will be sticking out by a fraction of a millimeter, that was absolutely fine. Or if there will be a tiny gap in between them, again, I wasn't really bothered. So overall, I thought the whole point of the exercise is just to make it as random as possible, and if it won't be perfectly even, that's equally fine. So I was going through quite a few cuts on my bandsaw, table saw, and I was ripping all the pieces of wood into little strips, as you can see. So that is on the right hand side visible. A little surprise, there is a little bit of a nail sticking out, and somehow the bandsaw was not happy to go through it. Initially I started with 120 grit on the belt sander, but it was slightly too optimistic, so I thought, hey ho, it's a good opportunity to change the belt, and I opted for grit 60, and that was a really good call, and it just sped up the whole process. Quite recently I have fitted new blade to the bandsaw. However, after quite a few cuts I was getting quite a bit of drift, hence I'm using this fence that is clearly not square, and it is my first go trying to adjust it, and I didn't succeed on that occasion. So you can see that the blade is just drifting to the side and it's not cutting a nice parallel slice. So I use this method, which is this fence, slightly skewed fence, and that was my second go, and again, no luck. So it means that the whole fence would have to be rotated even more out of squareness. Anyway, I'm slicing through some English plain at the moment, and I have to say that I love the way the grain looks like of English plain. It's just each face of the wood is just having different pattern, and this wood on its own is just beautiful. That is some oak that I'm slicing through, and on this occasion I'm using a single point contact fence, and overall it's actually doing pretty decent job. You have to wiggle it slightly left and right to keep it on track, but once you get hang of it, it's not that bad. So overall, the single point fence is okay, maybe not perfect, but it does the job. And anyway, I was still going to sand each piece individually, so it didn't really matter. And my trusted table saw was nearly maxed out, and the blade, I would be more happy to have slightly taller blade to cut it easier. Anyway, readjust the fence 3 centimeters, a bit of smoke. Clearly there is not a perfect alignment, but hey how, I crack on. And as you can see, I was just slicing and slicing and slicing quite a lot of wood into thinner strips. But I have to say it's quite satisfying to see the whole progress, and it took me forever. I think overall it was 2 solid weekends, maybe not solid, but overall I would say 10 hours plus it took me on cutting, sanding, and overall I think I made 50 odd linear meters of the timber pieces. And yes, now I'm going through all of them, at least one face to make it nice that it will be facing the room. But then of course if there are any bigger imperfections, I was sanding the other faces as well. And that was the average pace when I was cutting, so as you can see it's taking quite a bit of time to go through it. And that is the overall volume of all the timber bits, pieces that I will be using. And I have to say that at the moment they are not maybe all looking amazing because they are lacking oil and the final finish. However, there are quite a few different varieties and because of this it will be a really nice mix of different colors. So I needed nearly 1.6 square meters and I have supplied 1.7 square meters overall. Actually it was 57 give or take meters overall, and I have marked up roughly where does it go. Oh, and one of the reasons why we wanted to make this is that this nasty gap between the floor and the wall, and we had a bit of a disagreement how to finish it off, and we managed to get the compromise with regards to how to finish it. And I'm using the cheapest glue I could get in Screwfix. I think the tube was around 2 quid 50 or 2 quid 70, and this one had the biggest range of the working temperature and temperature in use. Can't remember the exact value, but it was the best value, and by coincidence it was the cheapest one, so hey ho, can't complain on this one. And I have to say that I had to cut quite a few pieces into smaller bits to make a nicer pattern. And this is the satisfying and sexy part, application of oil. Overall I have added 2 coats of oil, and I think down the line I will have to repeat it because after now it is 6-8 weeks since I finished this one. I can see that the oil slightly vanished on a few pieces of wood, and I think I will have to reapply it, but it's that easy. It's quite a quick and easy process. And during the application of the oil, all the colors become more vibrant, and now for example this piece is English plain, and suddenly by the application of the oil it just springs to life, and I just love it. It's the same, this one, it's just a different slice, and it's just amazing. I just really like this specific wood. And there is some ash, oak, and it's just a really nice mix, a bit of variety. Overall, I'm really pleased with the final outcome. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, if you could hit like and or subscribe, that would be amazing. Much appreciated. And these are the final few pictures of the completed project with 2 coats of oil, and definitely I need to clean the wood burner. Thank you very much. Cheers!